Hi, my name's Chris Guttridge and I'm the lead developer on the eprints project, and I've been asked by David Flanders to say a couple of words about some of my current thinking in preserving repositories. There's a lot of talk about how to preserve the formats, how to collect sensible formats, and how to keep track of digital rights management and so forth. But one thing that is very important to me as a webmaster is to make sure that the same resource remains available at the same URL indefinitely. In the long term, it can be very expensive to keep preserving digital media such as wikis and especially repositories, which have quite a complicated back end requiring more than a little bit of maintenance compared with flat websites. So in the very long term, I want to be able to turn such repositories into a flat file system, or at least convert them to another system. To do this, it's quite important that everything has fairly logical URLs, and it's a real problem when I have a system which has a URL which is resource ID equals 64 and format equals this and extra key equals, like a particularly ugly Facebook URL. If we want to make sure the same resource is available at the same URL in the same format, people need to think carefully about sensible and logical URL names and making sure that suffixes will be Web 1 friendly, and we have to do this as we move into Web 2. It's no use trying to do this several years later once all the links are in a complete mess. As we slowly design more Web 2 and completely Web 2 systems, we need to keep an eye on how we're going to fall back gracefully. One experiment we performed with this several years ago was for the ACT project, which had a successful eprints repository which ran for 5 years and collected around 200 research outputs for that repository. Keeping the repository running long after the end of the project was an obligation of our web team, run by me, and completely unnecessary amount of work compared with the amount of use the dynamic side of the resource was actually providing to the research community. What was really valuable was the fact that the papers were available at the site they'd been linked to previously and remained so. So as an experiment, I wrote a set of scripts which turned the existing site into a static website. Largely this was done by modifying the template to remove all the links to searching and dynamic content and editing any of the pages accordingly, then just running a crawler script to capture the site's HTML in situ. I then replaced the existing site with the crawled HTML site and preserved in the same directory but not available on the web the original data files and SQL database dump. What I didn't do at the time, and it's been pointed out to me I should have done, was preserve a copy of the software as it was when the configuration was last effective. One other thing that I did was created a static XML file for the OAI, but this causes a problem because it had to be at a different URL to the original CGI URL of the eprints archive. This was because the original URL was /CGI/OAI, and when we wanted to run it through a straight Apache server, we wanted it to have an XML suffix. We could tell it to serve with the XML MIME type by using more Apache hacks, but we're trying to keep things as simple as possible, and if we had it over we might learn from that mistake. You can have a look at the results of our experiment in repository fossilization at eprints.aktors.org. Anyway, hopefully this will be useful, give you some ideas. Thanks.